Hi, I'm Bay Forrest, and if you heard the last devotional I did for Eric Swithin, then you know who I am. I'm not going to try to get into a lot of that at all as far as talking with you about who I am or anything. I just want to talk to you about something I'm really passionate about. This one, and we have to be so careful because if we're not careful, it starts sounding like we're trying to get something from God with this. But I want you to listen to me talk to you about a passage in Malachi that is one of my all-time favorites. And in Malachi chapter 3, it tells us, I think it's in about verse 5. Let's see. It's in Malachi 3, verses 8 through 12. We'll just go with for this time of it here. Malachi 3, 8 through 12. Malachi comes to the people of God and he says, I got a word from you from God. And the people go, okay, what do you got? And he starts right out and he says, you guys are robbing me. And the people go, what are you talking about? We're robbing you. We're not robbing you. And he says, yeah, you are. God says you're robbing me because you're not bringing the tithes and offerings into the warehouse. Now I know immediately when somebody starts talking like this, you go, oh boy, here he goes. He's talking about money. Listen, this has nothing to do with somebody trying to get money or anything. This is being obedient to God. This is something that God is so strong on. And he's so strong about it that I love what it tells us in Malachi in chapter 3. Listen to what it says in verse 10. He goes on after he says the people were robbing and says, bring your tithes in. It says, I will pour out a blessing so great you won't have enough room to take it in. Try it. I love this when he says try it. What this is, I call this the only double dog dare in the Bible. This is where God says, I double dog dare you to see if you can outgive me. Now, please be careful with this. Why does he want to bless us and give us things in our life? So that we can be a blessing again, not so that you can get more. This isn't about getting. I always tell people we get to give, to get to give, to get to give. We get to give again. It's not about having more for ourselves. It's so we can be used of God and be a blessing to other people. I praise God for people in our ministry who are supporters of our ministry. And Eric and Cam are the same way. They've got to have people in their ministry that give. But listen, what I tell those people all the time, good business, successful businessmen, people that are making money, I tell them all the time, I say, listen, you make as much money as you can with integrity and then use it for God's glory. Did you hear the end of that? It's use it for God's glory. We don't use it so we can get more stuff, get a nicer home, a better car, or anything like that. Now, there's nothing wrong with having good things. God blesses us and allows us to use that. But how much of what we have is God's? Please don't say 10%. Please don't say 20%. 100% is God's. He has it all. If you're a follower, if you're a Christ follower, if you're a true follower of Jesus, then everything you have is His. And everything that He blesses you with is to be used for His glory. Now that includes taking care of your family. You need to provide for your family and drive a car that's safe and that type of thing. But that's not why we get, is so that we can have more stuff for ourselves. We get so we can give more. And so I tell our supporters all the time, make as much as you can with integrity and then use it for God's glory. Are you doing that? Are you using everything you have that way? Because that's what God said. He said, test me and see if you can outgive me. Now, I love what he says after that too. He goes on, he says, hey, if you will do that, he says, I'll rebuke the devourer. That's the way it says it in the King James Version. Now, what was the devourer back during that time? The devourer was locusts. That's what would come in, and those locusts and wipe out a crop. And if they wiped out the crop, he lost all of his crops that he had that he was going to sell, or whatever he was using to feed his animals, and it was devastating if that happens. That's what God tells us. He says, if you'll give, I will rebuke, I'll hold off the devourer. Now, he doesn't do that so that you can make lots of money and just get wealthy or anything. No, he says, I'll rebuke the devourer so that you can continue to be a blessing with everything that I give you to use. But he goes on and listen to what he says. But if you don't give, I won't rebuke the devourer. That's huge. We need to understand God pulls his hands of blessing back still. I can't believe how many times today people will say, I can't figure out why. I just can't seem to get ahead. You bet. The first question I will ask somebody if I'm counseling someone is, well, tell me about your giving. How are you doing with your giving? And they'll kind of put their head down. Well, I'm not making enough to be able to do so. You can't afford not to give. People say, I can't afford to give. I say you can't afford not to give. We need to be giving because that's when God says, test me and see, I'll promise you. You might start with just a tiny amount, but start with that amount. Start giving with that, and then let him bless you so you start seeing him give to you so that you can turn around and give back to him and to his ministries and to the kingdom work that he wants to do. So, I encourage you, please don't take this as I can't believe he's telling me to try to make more money. This is not prosperity gospel. I rebuke that prosperity gospel. It is not of God, but what it is when you're being faithful to God with everything that he's put in your hands, then you take him and say, here you go, God, here's everything I have. Now, how do you want me to use this for your glory? And as you are generous with others, I promise you that's when he is going to be more than generous with you.